was when Louis Vuitton, Pharrell, and Timberland were rolling out.
Yes.
The Timbs.
The Timbs with the flip
Yeah.
them.
And I just did a video about what I saw them doing. Like, I was like, the seating was great. This is what I thought they did here. The pairing of this, I was like, Timberland made out well on this. Louis Vuitton made out well on this. And the next morning, that video had 250,000 views, and I think I gained like 4,000 new followers.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I was trying to do.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to My First Kicks. This is episode 225, and this week we got a part 2. We got a returning guest, and I'm not gonna say your catchphrase, but welcome to the podcast, Bimma. Welcome back, Bimma.
What's going on, man?
Yo,
what's going on?
Yo, you know what's really? I was thinking about like the last time we spoke, not like together, but like the last time you were on the podcast. Yeah. Yo, it's so wild. This was right before you stopped Claima Stories.
Wow. What was that, 2023? Had to be like November. What was that, Complex Con, or was it before?
No, I'm talking about when I had you on the podcast itself. And so that was in between 2024 Complex Con, because the 2024 Complex Con is when we were like, that's when we actually like, I think we became cooler then. Because like before that, it was
because we did one outside of
we did the
when I hosted IDK.
Yeah. And we were talking about the whole episode, because I remember like it was yesterday. It's the one of the episodes where I was just like, he's amping me up, like I'm gonna make podcasting happen, right? And I was just like, hell yeah, I'm gonna be like, if Bimma starts his thing, and then like, maybe he might be like, yo, pull up, I got a whole network now, right? Nah, like 3 months later, you were like, I'm done. You took the step back, man. I didn't listen back to it, but I was watching your other interviews with everybody else and seeing the progression, right? So this episode is about that transition. Okay. Because the one thing that I kept replaying in my head, especially with this current administration, not to make it political, but you ended Claima Stories and your business because of DEI. And I don't think there's enough emphasis on what that means for other people, because I feel like people hear it, and then now, if you're on the internet, you hear about it being like, oh yeah, this is a DEI hire, and it's just like, that's not what it, like, that's not fair. You know?
I mean, no, it's layers of things that come with it, right? And I think what a lot of people are seeing now, I knew it was rocky February 2023, right? And we constantly tried to pivot for like 6-7 months, and it just wasn't happening. Those budgets had shifted. The belief was that this new administration was coming in and that the Democrats were not going to be there. And
at that year,
I mean, it was early. You could see the trend. I mean, it was also like, and this is what I was saying. This was what I was trying to get across to people with what I was saying about the Supreme T-shirt that they did with Good Enough. That was in racism. And a lot of folks are like, oh, it's not their design, or this is not original, or this is again. And I was like, cool. I never said anything about any of those things. All those are facts, and that's great. What I was specifically speaking about was the fact that brands are performative. And so they have shifted away from actually doing the things they committed to. Because if people don't remember, there was like $1 billion guaranteed for actual shifts in policy to support all and end systemic racism, right? And so that was the point I was making, was that like, we not learned in the last 5 years that like a T-shirt's not gonna do it, and also like, why are you doing that? But
let me wait, before you move on. Yo, I texted Kari. Shout out Kari. I was like, yo, Bimma. I was like, yo, Bimma got this. Like I understand that what he's saying, but I was just like, but we can have that and the shirt be like for something, like, And so I watched that video, and I was kind of like, I wasn't heated, but I was like, man, I think he missed the point. And it was like, I was like, for me, it's I want all of that. Like we should be showing systematic racism is actually prevalent and like especially in corporate structures, right? Because a lot of people think that it's just like, oh, I just got to get high enough. And then it's just like, no, you kind of just like, it doesn't matter. There's always somebody trying to, you know, make sure that you're put or painted in or getting less money or this and that. And it's absolutely not fair. And so when I saw that shirt and like I was looking through the backstory, because like I was like, oh, you know, represents the Rodney King police brutality, like, and then for me, when I looked at it, I was just like, I think the biggest message is that how this shirt can actually still be relevant in 2025 is the most disheartening part of it. But to your point, when I went to, because I was gonna buy it, all right, and this is what the video was gonna be about. I was gonna buy it, and I was like, okay, the previous 3 shirts that they made all went to a fund, and then Supreme drops this one. I look at the bottom, and I'm like, all right, what fund are gonna, hook up? At least like now we got like, especially even for immigration, like they could help somebody, nothing. And I was like, Bimma was right. I was like, I'm not buying this shit. This is bullshit.
Well, a lot of times, folks, and it's fair. This is fair criticism of where I'm at the time. But a lot of folks are like, man, Bimma, you needed to wait a day because what if something changes? And where I usually am at is on that particular sentiment is like, well, lead with that message.
Yeah.
Because you led with the product, so lead with the message as well. Let me know where it's going. As a consumer, let me know that if you're gonna put out an end racism T-shirt, that
we ending it.
It's got to go beyond text.
Yeah.
Because there's money. That was a $48 T-shirt, right? Supreme is $1 billion business, so I imagine they're gonna sell quite a bit of units of this T-shirt. And so, for an organization that doesn't look like you or I, how does it make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
I was also, and then I had 2 points in the video I was gonna make, and it was I can't believe that this is actually prevalent now. And then the other one was like, I hate that it takes for somebody outside of outside of the US in general to make a collab like that, or to make that message. And then that was like the 2 things that like frustrated me, because I was gonna be like, that was the video. I was gonna be like, they're probably gonna help somebody, and then when I saw it, I was like, it's not gonna help nobody. And then I was just at the second one, and then the second part was just like, yeah, man, this is pretty disheartening. Like it was gonna be a bad, like, it wasn't good. I was just like, I'm not gonna put this out. At the end of the day, I texted Kari. I was just like, I don't got time. Like, I don't got the time. And I don't know how, because you talk about that. You posted the video, and I don't know how you spend so much time just like responding to everybody.
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do it for every post, but certain posts, certain stories, I'm like, it's good to like unpack and also hear people out, right? And I think what I've enjoyed so much about creating Collab Lab is I intentionally ask questions, because I'm not coming from a place of like, my opinion is the law. It's just my opinion. And I'm very curious to see what the other opinions are in the room. And so I think sometimes, because I'm not in a long form dialogue, what gets lost is, do I care about those things? And also the dynamics of a personality, right? Like clearly today I'm not charged up, right? We might get to a point in the conversation where I could be charged up, but there's all sides to multiple people. And so I always appreciate when folks are in the comments and they are increasing the dialogue, expanding beyond points that I've made. Except for when I'm getting called a bozo for something that I did, right? But I'm like, keep it in the argument, right? Like, keep it in the tension point that we're talking about. And I'm game for that every day. And I even respond to people. I'll be like, yo, bro, like, I might not agree with it, but I appreciate you sharing your perspective on this, because I learned something today, you know?
It's just interesting because, like, and to go back, like, you were on this path of just like, yo, I'm gonna make, Black voices, like, you were crafting a specific niche to you, especially in an area where I feel like if any Black podcast was always like a Joe Budden or something like that, where it's like we're just criticizing each other versus like having a conversation of like, growth and how do we expand and build beyond Black culture and stuff like that. So, you know, how disheartening was it is that you had to go through that in order to get to, I'm not going to continue that question.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah. I think, what's really challenging is trying to unpack. You get it because you create, right? For the common person that might come across content or listen to the things that we produce, they don't realize that we're the creator of what we create. We are the producer of what we create. We're also the talent behind what we create.
Yeah.
And so in my run of Claima Stories, there was never a seed fund. There was never a loan. There was never an infrastructure from a conglomerate sitting under me to run that.
Yeah.
That was me and a co-founder at the time and us hustling to make that happen, right?
Yeah.
Every deal that came in the door was me negotiating deals, whether it was a 4,000 deal or it was $1 million deal. This is, I'm in the trenches on this. And so, you know, when I think about like having to adjust and roll it down, man, it was like, it's challenging because you're like, yo, I thought this was gonna be like,
and you had a lot of momentum too.
Gonna do, but you know, it also let me know the cracks in the foundation regarding like, this is the trouble with a couple of different things, and this is like some of the things we talk about, but just on the business side, like the brand side of Claima Stories was great. Like the story's right, the point of view's right, the stories were impactful. People, like I talked to someone yesterday who was like, that I met for the first time, and they were like, yo, like I was in school at FIT and I was listening to these stories every week. And I was like, man, like that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But on the business side, there were things like, you know, literally I talked to my publicist, my old publicist, AJ from Disrupt yesterday. And what we talked about, you know, there's things that they wanted me to do. There's like all of these things and I just wasn't there. But stuff like audience size, it matters. Like if you're dealing with brand money, like I'm sorry, you are competing with the Kai Cenats and the, you know, the other the Drewskis of the world. You are competing against those brand dollars. So it was that. It was the business was set up purely on sponsorships, right? And so when it's working, it's great. But when all of those companies who you thought were committed to that particular thing decide that they're not doing that shit no more, right? Like then you're like, oh, so where are we gonna get the revenue again? And so it wasn't necessarily that I was like, I'm over it. It was the fact of the matter is like that business model didn't work and the opportunity was no longer there. And we saw that from February that year.
I mean, it's crazy because you had actual employees under you.
Yeah, I had a team of 6. You know, I had my right hand who ran the operation. I had a producer, had a head of ops, and we had assistant, and then we had a whole production team that didn't work under us. I mean, we outsourced because we got smart pretty quickly. But, you know, we had, you know, for me, it was great. Like it was a great support. Like it allowed me to still be the creator, right? Versus stuff I don't want to do, which is like admin. And like, even now, like I just brought on brand partnerships support this year to get me out of that stuff. Cause I'm like, I know this stuff, but I don't want to be in the weeds on it.
Me either. That's, cause like, we were talking, I think we became a lot like friends towards that, like in between that or something like that. And so like seeing and hearing your conversations with other people, I was like hearing like, or for your episode on Beyond Kicks, like, I feel like there's definitely a moment where when I think of your transition from Claima Stories, you say that you stopped at one point. You were like, I'm gonna put in this time and effort in order to start this thing that I believe in, which is Collab Lab. And so I do feel like you get this question a lot too, where it's just like, you know, what inspired you to do this? But what I'm curious of is like, what made you just be like, you know what, I'm gonna still continue believing in myself at that point, instead of being like, I already have all this, you know, I already have all this talent that I know I can do. Why can't I pitch it for, say, like, you know, go back to Nike or like go back to Saucony? Like, why? What made you be like, you know what? Nah, I have a proven concept. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, you know, I worked. You know, I grew up in Louisiana, and whatever I do, however you define it today, right? I define it as being media content creator, producer.
I don't know how to define
it. And you know, for a long time, I thought what would give me the most fulfillment in this space is working at one of the brands, right? And so when I went to Saucony, I went to the top of Saucony very young. And I think speed is not always a great thing because I don't think you can really appreciate where you're at. And so like I was 30 running Saucony Originals, top to bottom, right? And my only like senior above me was like the president. That was my mentor.
That's insane. At
right?
30,
At 30.
At 30,
and you know, I was like, I don't know what I need to know. Right? Like I'm moving too much off of instinct versus like insight.
You really think that you can keep watching this episode without subscribing, or leaving a comment? Come on, man. And also, if you've been listening to this episode, leave a review. But back to the episode.
And so like I did that. I went to Yeezy and Adidas. I went to Nike. Like I did those things, and nothing has given me more fulfillment and excitement than being able to contribute to culture on my own accord. Right. And that's why I haven't gone back. It's not because like those aren't great opportunities, because they are. And a lot of my peers are there, and I'm still connected to a ton of my peers. And trust me, when I say something that someone doesn't like, I get messages immediately. But
hey, man, chill,
man. I enjoy, God, I just enjoy being able to find my lane in culture. And like I had this conversation with my wife last year, and it was like, you know, I really want to carve out, like, when I'm not here, I want to be able to say I was happy with what I contributed to the space when I got there. And I was happy with how I pushed and shifted the conversation when I got there. And I'm always going to be entrepreneurial. And so, and we're just an entrepreneur family. You know, my wife's got ice cream shops.
Shout out
Kate's.
There you go. Shout out Kate's, man. Yeah, if you're in Oregon, it's two locations.
But it's that freedom in just being able to turn on the camera, turn on the mic, and provide your perspective, whether it's in a podcast form or whether it's a one-man talk show form. Like I couldn't stay away from it, you know. But obviously I had to figure things out in between. And thankfully, because I had built up such a reputation through Claima Stories, and I had some partnerships with a couple other brands, that it gave me space so that I didn't have to immediately try to create something new. I could use my talent and go into other places. So I went to Amazon. We did an amazing show called Bars and Nuggets. Shout out to my man, Trevor. That was like wonderful experience for me, because I got to get my taste for entertainment world truly, and got to interview some incredible people, whether it was Glorilla, you know, got to interview John Batiste. Like, I mean, talk about different ends of the spectrum there, right?
The crazy thing, not to cut you off, the crazy thing is, like, I heard you in the interview being like, one time you were like, I don't even like talking to people. Like, you were at one point, you were just like, you're super introverted.
It's like I don't go out of my way, you know, to do it. But the people that I end up connecting with, and I'm genuinely locked in. Like, I'm not the person at the party that's going to talk to everybody. I'm the person at the party that's like, my person that's there that I really want to engage with. We gonna sit and have a dialogue. But I'm not gonna like walk and, you know, shake the room. And it's not because I'm like one of those people that's like, oh, I don't want to talk to people. But it's just like, I'm more comfortable in that scenario.
This setting, I mean, but I also think that's like it's a hard skill now. Well, I think both are. If you're able to do both, which a lot of people think that I am able to do, but the way to connect to somebody in a packed room and connect to somebody in a room by the like with yourself, like it's either or is either intimidating.
I mean, and I've had to grow those skills where I need to. So like, I think the distinction is there's my comfort level of wanting to, but trust me, if I'm in a business environment, I don't have a choice. I got to run the room. Like, that's like, I'm in New York, I got to run the city. You know, like I got to go get FaceTime with certain people that I didn't the last time I was here, and that's, that's me versus what I want versus what I need to do.
Yeah. That conversation where you're just like, all right, like there's because a lot of people, they'd be like, yo, man, you're so outside. Now I'm Mr. Outside now. But what gets me there is like, I promise myself I'm going to do this. And then on top of that, it's like, all right, I got that mindset. Yes, I'm going to go. Yeah. And then I have that mindset of like, all right, cool. I'm going to at least leave with like one new listener or a potential guest. Like you got to have these like steps in that process to make it worthwhile. Because if you're just going to something and you're just like, okay, like, you're in the corner, like, are you there for
I always say you gotta have a strategy in mind for what you're going to do. You just can't, I mean, you can like free will it. Like there, it was funny when I was when Collab Lab was bubbling up, this wasn't intentional, at least like in what it's become. It was trying to figure out like my voice in this new space. And I had really like started to hunker down on like my marketing perspective and like that background and wanting to share that from the point of view of continuing to educate and help freelance, right? Yeah. And I was sharing stuff and I was like, I think this is good. And I think, it was getting like 2,000, 3,000 views, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. 3,000 views. If you was in front of 3,000 people,
perspective, man.
Right? Yeah. 3,000, that's a lot of people. Yeah, so is. I was like, but I still am like, I'm an athlete, so I'm like, yo, I want to do better. You want to do better.
Yeah, you're like, so, I could beat my last race.
Yo. So I remember, I think it was like late December, early January. I was super frustrated. 2024, last year. Yeah. And I get on the phone with my man Jordan Rogers, and I'm like, Jordan's like putting numbers up. Like Jordan is putting up like 500K views on things. Yeah. And I'm like,
shout out,
bro,
Jordan Rogers,
what are you doing? Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And he gives me like his like thought process behind like what he's tapped into, what he's saying, and like how he's doing it. And I was like, okay. And then I talked to the homie Kevin Concepts. And, Kevin had been everywhere. He'd been hype bees. Yep. He got all these deals and stuff. And I was like, Kevin, what you doing, man? And he's like, Bimma, show don't tell, dog. He's like, you've been in places we ain't never been. You got perspectives we don't have. He's like, show don't tell, dog. And so I was like, all right, man. So go back in the lab. This is like my studio set up at the house. And, at the time it was just me, all research, all writing. I do a little bit of scripting. I never stay on script. I record myself, and then I was editing myself. So it was a talk, which is why I didn't go beyond 60 seconds because like my day, even with the technology we have now, it still was like so much time in the edit room, right? And so
trust me,
this was like containable and manageable for me. Yeah. And I remember Fashion Week, Paris 2024, and it was when Louis Vuitton, Pharrell, and Timberland were rolling out.
Yes,
the Timbs,
with the flip on.
And I just did a video about what I saw them doing. Like I was like, the seating was great. This is what I thought they did here. The pairing of this, I was like, Timberland made out well on this. Louis Vuitton made out well on this. And the next morning, that video had 250,000 views, and I think I gained like 4,000 new followers. Yeah. And I was like, that's what I was trying to do. I was like, that's the shit I was trying to do. And it was just, it wasn't the numbers, you know what I mean? Like, I want to like come back to that. I just was like, I know that I'm putting out information that folks need, but I was missing a certain thing, right? And Jay's got a great line. He said, nothing wrong with the aim, just got to change the target.
Right.
And I always remember that when I'm like, if I feel really good about something and it's missing, it's not necessarily that I'm doing the wrong thing. It's that maybe I need to like shift just a tiny bit, and that's where the bullseye is, right?
that's hard because like a lot of people just, some people are just firing. I think now within social media, now a lot of people are just firing like crazy.
Yeah.
Where it's less like clip after clip. Some
Yeah.
people 3 clips a day or
Yeah.
something like that. And a lot of it can just go nowhere. And then you got one that goes, oh, it's like, oh, okay.
I prefer a steady, a consistent audience showing up versus a get a million views, right? Because those folks they don't really know me. They're not really tapped into the subject matter. What they were interested in particular is maybe spectacle, right? And so I don't care if I don't have any pop hits. I want a core audience that wants to hear from me specifically, not from anybody talking about that. They want to come to hear my perspective on it. That takes time. It takes consistency. It takes continuing to prove your credibility over time. But yeah, so I just like some subjects I stay away from because I think they're pop subjects that would attract the audience that
it's not
doesn't really care about me talking about product releases, marketing strategies, activations, collabs, celebrity personality partnerships. Like, so I think we have to be disciplined about the audience that we want to curate to bring into our world. Right. You can't just be chasing pop hits or trends, right? Like I was so appreciative of that video because so many folks wanted me to do behind the scenes stuff, show more about my personal life. They wanted me to do a bunch of stuff. And then like the stuff that was really moving was like TikTok dancing and like, all these things. And I was just like, dog, there's nothing wrong with none of that, but it's not me.
It's not you.
Like I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like unless I'm gonna do it to promote a video and it's also putting like some criteria in front of it.
I mean, it's crazy because like I did the opposite of that I did I'm gonna try TikTok. I'm gonna try being like, like a Dre the Shoe guy. Shout out Dre.
Yeah. Dre's great. Shout
Dre's
out Dre.
awesome. But he figured that's his lane, right? And or like, I mean, I've never been into sneaker reviews, so I never thought about it. But like, shout out to Seth, and he's got his lane too.
He's got his lane.
So like, honing in on what I think is satisfying me more than what is satisfying an audience that may just only stick around for one video. Like, I think that's something people need to weigh in more a little bit about, because I think, somebody sees somebody else getting success off of one video. They take a little bit of, or even get inspired by that video, and then they put it into their, but it's like, where's your identity? Because you can get that. If somebody's did your End Racism shirt video in their take of like, but it's still the same way of yours. It's like, why would they go?
Why would they go for them? Yeah, they already get that from me, which is what I always tell people. I'm like, we're all specifically here for a specific reason. We all have that, right? I'm not here to do what you do. You're not here to do what I do. But we can also add to what each other is doing. Like I think Carrie had a great take on. I put something out about Dixon Foot Locker, and he had a counterpoint of view. And, he had messaged me about it. He was like, I hope I didn't, create any like smoke or anything like that. And I was like, bro, what? Like, this is what we should be doing. Like, you have a perspective. Like, I'm always going to respect your perspective. I was like, this is why I put out what I put out. Cause I'm like, I'm trying to see what's going to come back. Like that's that's what I thought was missing in the space is that dialogue.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. It's like, it's interesting because I think a lot of people are afraid to speak up now because they think I'm stepping on somebody's toes.
No.
And it's like, the thing is, and I don't know if it's just the way we are growing up or the way that people are adjusting, but we used to have, like me and you cannot like the same thing and be friends.
I think it's the way I grew up, and I think a lot of corporate money is involved now. So there's things that people feel are at risk in what they share, and that is true. There is things that are at risk when you might share a perspective that doesn't align with a corporation that could possibly do business with you, right? But I grew up like, arguing with my family over a dominoes and a spades table at like, I mean, levels of volume that would make a person not be able to hear, bro. Like it, so, and then like after the game's over, it's nothing.
Yeah.
So that, and I grew up competitively playing sports, running track, talking shit, in the middle of an 800 meter race, or a 3-mile race. Like, so to me, I just think I'm on the court.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that could be a little overly competitive, but for the most part, it's contained. But I just get competitive and I think of it as sport. I don't think of it as like if I say something right now and we get off the mic that we still gonna be like tense about it. I'm like, bro, we're on the mic. Like we're just debating a topic. I'm not debating you personally. Right. Exactly. Like that's a different it's a different beast.
but so that's what I was saying. I feel like with social media, I think everybody, it's like that's where people aren't having healthy discourse. They're just like, you have attacked me personally. We must duel at midnight. Like it's like it's over. Like we got to chill with that. Bro, like sneaker beefs are so crazy. Like
I'm not beefing with nobody over sneakers. I'm not beefing with nobody over sneakers. Never.
Oh, sneaker. Not even. And social media beef is ridiculous. It's like just have an opinion. Like unless you're coming into me being like, oh, in my comments and being like, why'd you interview Bimma? He's mad whack. I don't care. Like, like I don't care, bro. I wanted to talk to him.
I get it. It's wild because I think you and I had a conversation about, you were asking me my level of comfort with what comes with the way I present now. Right? Whereas like when I was doing interviews before, there was no, I would say there was no cause to create a strong opinion about what I was particularly doing. I think the opinion was created around the story and that it was inspiring, right? And now when you start sharing opinion, perspective, commentary, if you're doing it right, you're either going to create emotions that are like, yes, like, thank you for saying that shit.
Right.
Or you're going to create emotions of like, man, I'm tired of this dude, bro. Like, he always got something to say. He don't like anything. Like, why you don't like nothing? Blah, 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 blah.
Bro, why do you get painted like that so much, yo? It's crazy. Yo, it's crazy. It's funny because I was going to bring this up a little bit later. It's so funny because I tell people, like, basically I always say, like, you're one of my mentors. Like, in this space, like, in podcasting, you are one of my mentors. Like, I come to you.
That.
Like, I always come to you and be like, yo, I have this idea or whatever. And like, I listen to you. Like, I don't listen to a lot of people. People would come up to me and be like, yo, you know what you should do? And I'll be like, what? And then I'm always like, I'll think about it. Like, like I'm not gonna let you down to tell you no to your face, but just trust me, I did not listen to what you told me. But like, I only listen to like you and like maybe like 2 other people, right? So the thing is like, people be like, they see me be like, and I'll be like, yeah, I can't wait to have Bimma on again. Like, I can't wait for this conversation. People be like, man, he's be disagreeing with everything, man. I don't understand that. Like, I'm just like, bro, it's just a video.
It's control. It's control. Yeah. That's a response of control. That's wanting me to be a certain way versus allowing you to be a way and for me to be a way and us being mutually okay with that, right? I think for me, dude, I'd rather you feel this way about me or that way about me than nothing about me.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I also decided a long time ago that even when you try to please people, you're going to fail at pleasing people. And I don't do it for that.
No.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm going to rock to the beat of my own drum. If you meet me outside of the 60 seconds that you saw me, I'm sure you're going to learn a lot more about me as a human, but some folks may not. And that's okay too, But at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not here to agree with you. There are plenty of platforms that exist that you could go agree with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to always press upon the tension. I'm going to press upon your pain points. And I'm going to ask you to think for yourself versus what you were told to think. That's always going to be me. And that's always going to ruffle some people.
Always. It's crazy, man. Because on that point, right, I've always, and I hate this word because of the, what was that movie? The Knives Out, the third movie in Knives Out.
No, there's only 2.
Oh,
there's a third one
one
coming.
Yeah, what's the second one?
Glass Onion.
Glass Onion.
Yeah.
But the whole movie was about disruptors. But you are, I consider you probably like maybe like the most pivotal disruptor right now because you're doing it your way and you're doing it through your voice versus it being like in that movie it was just like, oh, I just figured out how to get Bitcoin to like 500,000. Like, you know, like that's not a disruptor. Yeah. Like you are creating conversations in this space like that are actually progressing to brands being listening or opening it up. And so that brought you to having an opportunity with Skull Candy and like and the other brands. But what was that like for you to figure out like, oh, okay, it doesn't have to just stop at the video. You know, you're like, yo, I can make courses out of this. I can have these conversations, be able to build kind of like an ecosystem. Yeah. And I also feel like the pivotal thing that nobody talks about is that people don't feel like they're like being pitched to every single time they see your video. And or on top of that, they also feel like, you know what, like this is something that's actually really going to help me. Like I think I've never missed any of your free classes because you're always like, yo, what up, Hassan? I'm like, all right, man. But yeah.
A lot of my experience of what I do comes from where I came from and what I didn't have, right? And what I don't see in the space. And so I'm always going to be passionate about like helping the next person up, like you. I always take the call because I'm like, don't spend money on this. Like do it this way, change this, adjust this. And ultimately you got to decipher that and decide what's right for you. You don't need to take what I say face value and go do it. You got to figure out what works for you.
You're not going to give me the blueprint. You're just going to be like, here's the map.
Even if I gave you the blueprint, sometimes we're not ready for it, right? Like I was joking with someone and I was like, man, I listened to Kingdom Come. The thing is like last year and I was like, I have a different appreciation for it. And it was like, certain things meet you in life when you're ready for them. Yeah. And so when I was thinking about, you know, specifically on just thinking about the Collab Lab side of things, I was like, I see based on my experience as a consumer, my experience in media and my experience as a professional that used to work at these brands, I see clearly what's missing. And what's missing is that brands want to look good. Yeah. But when it comes to wanting to look good, you also got to be honest. Yeah. Right. And in a lot of those structures, it's hard to be honest because we're in a job market that's crazy as hell. We don't want to lose our jobs and folks want to advance. And like some of that means like not telling the whole truth, right? And so we see these things come into the marketplace. Yeah. And then people have strong reactions to it. And then they like, Bimma, can you talk about this? And I'm like, y'all was mad at me talking about that very thing. Yeah. But then, you know, and then I see it on the other side where we're like, man, there's voices out there that should be speaking honestly and asking questions about this, but then payola's in the way of that as well, right? And so when I realized like, the biggest question that started to come up when it was clear the direction that I was going to go. Yeah. When folks start to realize that, oh, he doesn't have a problem talking directly to the problem. So what's going to happen to the brand deals? Yeah. What's going to happen to the relationships with the brands? What's going to happen in that regard? And what I started to figure out quickly was that, well, I never offer a critique without a solution. I always offer a solution because that's how I was trained. Yeah. I was trained in these rooms to be like, I mean, like, I it's funny. I'm like, man, one of these days I got to do a series where like we're in a creative review because I think people see some of these takes that I have and I'm like, oh, you don't know what it's like in a design review.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Like in a design review, like there's times we'd be ready to fight when I was at, you know, in these places because we're so passionate about the idea.
Because you're talking about people's babies.
Literally, like they're like, yo, I birthed this. What you talking about? Or like, you know, product and marketing being like, you ain't telling the story right. Like these are real dynamics that exist. And then like business leadership saying we need these volumes, these units, right? And so, but if you don't have that type of passion about it, you're likely not going to make anything that's good, right? Because you don't really care about it. And then how you expect someone else who you're thinking is going to buy it to care about it? So knowing all those things, I was like, there's gonna be people from the corporate perspective that's like, we needed to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you saying that because no one else here is gonna tell me that. And then there's gonna be the people that I say don't necessarily really care about the space.
Mm-hmm.
They care about monetizing the space.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are gonna be most fragile around some of these things because they knew it wasn't right before it went out.
Mm-hmm.
All I did was validate the insecurity.
Right.
And so what has happened is as I had a hunch and it proved itself was that I was going to start to gather support externally, but also internally from folks who appreciate feedback,
Mm-hmm.
appreciate unfiltered feedback.
Yeah.
And so people will be surprised to know that I get calls from a lot of CMOs.
Mm-hmm.
I get calls from a lot of CEOs
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of consulting because of being honest.
Yeah.
And it's not, they don't have to always agree either.
Yeah.
But what they appreciate is that I'm not bullshitting them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm never going to bullshit them.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I mean, it's crazy because, like, yeah, you talk about this in another interview how you met the CEO of Skull Candy.
Shout out BG.
Yeah, shout out BG. I should have said hello to at the party, which I didn't. And he, yes, I was invited to Skull Candy party by Bimma, and I lost those headphones.
Oh man!
So please hook me up with another pair. But the way, you know, he like hit you up and was just like, oh, you know, can I get an honest opinion on, you know, this? And that's like my thing is, and so I don't know if this is like a hot take or whatever.
Hot take, let's go.
But I have this thing where I think people right now, I think people feel like when it comes to a sneaker or a product in general, right, that their first initial opinion is always like, this is the end all be all, right? White cement 3s, right? White cement 4s.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing, bad leather. I talked about this in the last episode, sorry. But like the whole thing, oh, it's a bad leather, whatever. And it makes it feel like, oh, this is not the shoe that I was expecting, right? But people critique sneakers like that, or critique sneakers in general, like they went to Pencil for 5 years and they know which is what and what is what. Versus like someone like you, where you've actually been in these rooms and you've actually seen the process, so you can see, you could actually give criticism instead of it being like the leather's bad. Like you took, like let me like, nobody's gonna cut open the white cement 4s like Rose Anvil and be like, all right, man, let's see which is better, this leather from a Prada runner, or this, like
I respect and appreciate those takes. It's not my lane though.
No,
I just, when we start to get into the place of like this red, like the Jordan 1 conversation where this red is different from the one that came out in 85. What I try to like, I just think about, and the only thing that I'm going to say about this ever is that something made in 1985 versus something that's made in 2025 is always going to have differences. There was technology that existed then and ways of making then that existed that we don't have now, that they didn't have then that we have now. So that's going to impact the craft, right?
Yeah.
There are people, knowledgeable things that they have, in like just institutional knowledge, right? Those folks might not be alive anymore. So there are certain things that happened then that just aren't repeatable. That's okay. Like the sneaker, don't like the sneaker, get the fuck over the color.
It's so annoying. Yo, sneaker Twitter is all that, man. I'm just like, all right, guys, like next shoe. Like
I be tapping in with y'all to tell me the Hobie, as sneakers, he'll give me some game about what's happening on Twitter. Carrie give me some game, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna stay away from Twitter.
Yeah, you followed me one day. I was like, oh, is he gonna be on here? And I was like, oh no, he's never been on here after that.
No,
I was like, what? But speaking of sneakers, like you did the sneaker of the year list, and like I said, Disruptor, right? I kept telling people this is a master class of marketing. Like because like there was so much like sneaker Twitter was like, I can't believe Bimma made this list. This list is garbage. He told it was supposed to be collabs. Anthony Edwards is not collabing with Adidas. Like all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But to me, I thought the way you funneled people, I was like, But I don't think people really understood that until who pointed it out in was it Jordan?
There was a young cat that had pointed it out. God, I'm forgetting his name. Forgive me.
Yeah.
But I think again, like lists are from perspectives, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to always please people, and you know the way I define collabs is vastly different from how a lot of other people would define collabs. You know, when I think about a collab, I'm like, is it two different entities coming together? Anthony Edwards doesn't work at Adidas.
No, he doesn't. No.
So I'm like, this goes into a collab bucket. Now, yes, we can go deeper into this and be like, this is signature, like this, like, of course, like I'm aligned in that. But I was coming from the broadest sense of collab and what not only performed really well, but also what moved in culture, right? But I knew, you know, there's social media, I love it and I hate it, right? I love it because we can communicate with people from across the globe in an instance.
Yeah.
I hate it because it clearly has certain parameters around algorithm and what's going to get to the people who said they want to follow you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so I was like, I want to make sure that I can be as close as I can to the people that really are interested in what I'm saying. And email, right? I knew email was the way to do that. And I was like, how am I going to get people to like sign up emails for a video, right? And I do a lot of studying of marketing and commercials and brand. I just, you know, that's the stuff that really interests me. And one of the best funnels that I really enjoy or ads in that regard are insurance commercials.
Yes.
Like I just like Geico, you know, Flow from Progressive. Jake State Farm. Shout out to him. He actually follows me on Instagram.
It's crazy. It's like people don't really think about it, but it's like, yo, how many times you go, it's hump day? It's hump day? Like, you're like, I mean, Geico.
It sticks, you know? And then I pair that with like some of these folks I see in the coaching space that are always driving people to something. I was like, can I make it entertaining and informative at the same time and drive people to the thing and then deliver them an experience that they haven't seen before in the space?
Yeah.
That was my objective. That's what I set out to do. And I think I got like 80% there. I think there's still so much that we could have done and that we will do differently in that regard. But it was, at the end of the day, it was fun, man. Like we painted an entire studio psych wall purple. We had, I mean, there was $100,000 camera on set to shoot this
crazy
stuff.
You shoot with a red?
No, we had a red. We had a Apex. I know I'm not gonna say it wrong. Corey's gonna kill me. But shout out to Corey Rude. Shout out to Nick Pop. Like Nick's been with me since 2019, just helping me continue to evolve and be a better creator. But yeah, I just was like, man, like I felt like I wish that sneaker streetwear, this space was respected from a content and media point of view.
Me too.
The way that people think about politics, the way that people think about high fashion, the way that people think about sports and the quality of the content that is created around there. If you go talk to people in those spaces about our space, they don't view it that way. They think it's a bunch of nerds and people that don't have taste.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah. And I also think it's like a lot of what is shown is like, I always say it's like fast fashion. It's like the sheen of content. Like if you look at all sneaker content, like outside of like Seth and Winona, they put a lot of effort into their videos, quality wise and written wise, and they figure it out. But like, or AD Sneaks, like, you know, these are people that spend a lot of time trying to figure out an aesthetic and to make sure that is what they're hitting, and they're hitting it every single time at that quality.
Yeah.
So but when it comes to like fashion stuff like that, I think the way it's covered is so robust because you can get audio, visual, written, and it's like continuous.
And the quality of it is
Insane.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, when I look at our peers that actually create these sneakers that we really love, and the time that they put into the effort, and then the visuals and the rollouts, from Joe Fresh to Whitaker Group to Ronnie to Nigel, Action Bronson, like this list is very long. Salehi, like all of these cats.
All future guests.
And I say, where does our media quality meet with what the quality that they're putting out at, right? And all of the details that they go into, and like, so that's, to me, is like, when I put things out, I'm trying to meet them at their level.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm like, because who's going to celebrate them? Like, they got to go to like these other platforms because we're not at that level. Like, we got to get to that level.
Yeah. That's a question I've been bringing up a lot recently too, because, we know who is at the top right now. And everybody complains. Yes, we do.
Who's at the top right now?
Complex is at the top right now, right? And I feel like that is considered as like our I'm trying to what's WWD?
WWD.
Oh, so that's our WWD. Like that's our WWD. That's our who is like, who's talking and covering all the stuff that we're into, but that's WWD is considered like the top of the top in terms of just like news.
It skews way more high fashion.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we don't have anything above that. There's no like footwear news is not, there's like
very trade specific.
Yeah, trade specific. Like we don't have another. At one point we had like Hypebeast was part of the top three, you would say. It would be Hypebeast, Complex, High Snobiety. And I feel like High Snobiety and Hypebeast has gotten down while Complex has started to expand their coverage in order to cover more things and get more quote unquote ad dollars, So does that, my question to like the community, because like as we continuously put out content, we're also standalone content creators. There isn't something that's going to be like, there's no network outside of Complex that's going to be like, hey, Bimma, we see what you're doing. We want to do a Collab Lab X blah, blah, blah article, or we want to do a Collab Lab / blah, blah, blah for video content series or podcast series. Like we don't have any of that options anymore. Nice Kicks isn't going to hit us up and be like, yo, let's go. We got X amount on the budget. Let's do a series on just, Jordan 4's history or something like that, So now it's on to us to kind of like level that up. But my biggest critique is that there is so much garbage that we consume because of how fast TikTok can make things bubble up, that it does suppress what we can elevate more.
I would, and maybe it's just competitive nature of me.
I mean, we're both competitive.
I would say, and my friends Oren and Colin, who are like my marketing creator friends, they spend a lot of time looking into content, how to make content go. Like they know it from all ends of the spectrum, whether it's like super gimmicky shit to do to like really educational, informative, and still getting it to pop. There's a cat, RPN, that does a lot of AI coverage that just like goes crazy, right?
Yeah.
And what I would push back on is every space is saturated.
Yeah.
Every space is ultra competitive. And even in the days when I think that I'm doing my best, there comes a point where I realize I can do better. And, we have to have these honest conversations when I have a group of folks that like, I have that honest conversation with where I'm like, I feel like I'm punching ahead. And they're like, nah, you're not. And like, this is why. And I'm like, I needed to receive that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we get in our own way because we don't have that circle of folks that can give us a different perspective to see beyond what we want to see.
Yeah.
And I think also I'm very passionate about the subject that you picked up about independent creators and how are we going to monetize? And are we waiting on a network to come, or are we doing it a different way? And, you know, I haven't shared any of this before, but I would say over the last year, like, it's no secret that Collab Lab is moving in a very interesting way.
Big time.
And there have been several conversations with media entities about, is there something that we're going to do together or whatnot? And I don't know where that's going to go. But I had a really great conversation yesterday with a friend that challenged me.
Okay.
And the challenge was, we were talking about the cutting room floor. And shout out to our cousin, because she has her own Patreon.
Yeah.
And she puts her own clips out. She gets her own guests. And she is monetizing her content without another middleman.
Yeah.
And you look at that and you say, what's stopping us from doing that? What's stopping you? What's stopping Sneaky Leak? What's stopping any of us from doing that?
Yeah.
And me personally, I was like, you know, I could be honest about myself in that it's a risk.
Yeah.
Right. It's a real, I've been there. I've been, you know, my money on the line.
Big time.
And you're like, man, like, this is like, we're in the trenches.
Yeah. I mean, Maxim, who's here producing this podcast, he has been drilling into me. You got to start this Patreon, right, Maxim? Yeah. So I started it. But it's like I mean, I don't know if people see, that's the thing, right? I was with Sneaky Leak in Cincinnati. Sneaky Leak. It was in Cincinnati. Shout out to E and Janelle. But
and
like,
Henny, don't leave.
Oh yeah, and Henny. But she wasn't there.
I know, but you gave shout out to
all
not
three.
the whole.
My bad. Shout out all three. We have a group chat. But like, yeah. You know, I'm always like trying to pick people's brains because you know people are seeing things at different levels, right? Yesterday I was talking to Premium Pete about this, and he's just like, listen, man, like, you know, there are, you can look at it in a specific direction of like, yo, I'm just trying to get seated, and this is like, I'm like, nah, man, I want to make impact, and like. And that's what I say to a lot of people. I've been saying this, like, yo, we need more collaboration within this space. Like, it can't just be like us just going at it by ourselves. Like, if they can't tell us no if we got 6 people being like, yo, we all are working together and we're all.
Who's telling us no?
That's Banks. I don't know. Like, you know, like
no, Max, right?
Yeah, Maxim
said it right, bro. It's Patreon. You know, and that's the conversation I had yesterday was, why are we? The tools are there. They're set up. You already have audience.
Yeah.
Those people, some of them are willing to pay for your product, which is the content.
Yeah.
And we have to make that shift together. And we have to support one another in that shift. Because to your point, you can't make it alone. You do need the support system of colleagues to, 1, come on the show, but 2, promote the show, but also like figure out kind of the support network that really starts to build this independent engine, right? Where it is honest and it is from this refreshing perspective that we believe in. But I think we can't keep giving power away to waiting or thinking that somebody's coming to save it.
No,
nobody's coming to save us.
Nobody's coming to save us. I don't. That's what I've been trying to. My biggest hang up with Patreon is that, and I'll tell this right here, I want to give people something for outside of this. On top,
what do you mean?
This.
Tell me more.
So the plan that I have is like,
let's get into shop talk now. Come on here.
Because the plan I have in my head was like, all right, so whenever I signed up for Patreon, I've only signed up for like 2. It's like you get an extra episode or something like that, right? I want to do episodes with people. Like, so it's an extra, I'm spending more time with this.
When you say with, what do you mean? Like this is an episode with people.
With the listeners.
Like,
so,
live.
Like, no. Like, hey, you listen to my podcast?
Oh, I want to do an episode with you.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the plan. That might happen. I did make the Patreon. It is gonna be probably in the description of this episode because people put me on the spot. But I do want to. My thing is like, I mean, we talked about when I don't know if you see my episode with Copham and Rockham, but we talked about selflessness and like being a servant in a sense, right?
We are in service.
Yeah, we are in service. Yes. but like the give and take, right? Well, not the give and take. It's the give and give, right? Of like, I'm giving you my time, they're giving me their time.
Right.
So I want that to pay it forward. Yeah. Because that's what this is about. This is about paying it forward. Like you paid it forward to me, you know, giving me your time after you literally spent time on stage and you gave me 30 minutes to tell me and then to talk to me about like, yo,
because I know you're serious about it. I don't give everybody time.
No,
but like
don't.
if I see you out there doing your own thing and you're hustling and you're trying to figure it out, I'm always going to take the time.
Yeah.
The time I don't take is when somebody's not serious. They hadn't done any of the things, or if I've given them the advice and they don't put that advice into action, right? Then you're like, I don't know if we need to continue spending time. Like you just want to talk, right? Yeah. I'm like, I'm literally giving you, this is the game, you know, like it was like the no allows thing the other day.
Yeah, you literally gave him a full-on blueprint, yo. I was like, damn, this video is crazy.
And I left stuff out. I was like, man, I didn't even go into like raising the money. I was like, I could have gave the whole thing away, bro. But
I was about to text Omar like, yo. There's an opportunity here.
but yeah, man, I appreciate this conversation coming up in particular because it is one that I'm passionate about. It is as I'm thinking about like the next phase of Collab Lab and extending it beyond 60 seconds. Like I'm starting to iterate around like what's the 30-minute version of this, right? What does it look like to give folks deeper, more meaningful information versus just like, you know, a 60-second take on whatever this platform is. But cutting room floor, we should all be supporting things like that.
For sure.
Right. And the quality of the interviews is spectacular. Spectacular. But that to me is like, why we ain't giving ourselves a shot to do that?
I mean, I'm here.
You're here, yeah. Support my man's Patreon.
Yes, please. My first kicks. Towards the end of the podcast, I feel like we caught up. We're here now, right? Like that's the beauty of the second episode, right? Like we talked about first kicks. Make sure you watch that first episode with Bimma. Like you see a hopeful Bimma that Claima Stories is about to go crazy.
Yeah.
So it was very like you talked about, and then I asked you about your Saucony, your time at Saucony. Like we touched it all. Tap in. It's a great convo. Just know it's on Zoom. So yeah. But thank you for pulling up, man. Like this is always a huge honor. You know, until next time, man.
Man. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate the platform you're creating, man. Just keep going. Stay in the seat. Stay here with Maxim. Keep doing it, bro.
Let everybody know where to find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Bimma Williams. You can also tap in on Substack, doing a little writing there. But those are the two main places you're going to find me.
Yeah. Hit up that Collab Lab, you know. I'm pretty sure you're already following him. He's already pissed you off about 2 videos. I
pissed you off about
something. You know where to find me. I am Who Is Haas on all social medias. Follow the podcast at My First Kicks. Follow the podcast at My First Kicks Pod. Hit up the website, myfirstkicks.com. If you want to cop merch, it's on there. If you got questions or if you got stories, hit me up, info@myfirstkicks.com. And the Patreon.
Yes.
Patreon.com/@myfirstkicks.
Yes.
And you know what we say each week? Wear your kicks. Peace.